What's up, guys? Mike here. Welcome back to King Kraken Sports. It is 10 p.m. on Monday. I've actually just wrapped up the final day of the NFL Combine, or at least most of it. The problem with mine is that my DVR didn't actually record all of the DBs. It only went 5 hours, which normally is good. However, with how many defensive backs there were, I basically got through the second group of 40s today and maybe an extra 20 minutes. But obviously I just kind of wanted to do a quick video, basically give you guys my thoughts on the Combine, what I liked, what I didn't like from some of the groups. We'll start on day one with the running backs and the offensive linemen. Obviously Saquon Barkley stole the show. He was already my number one player going into the day. He still is, no doubt about it. The dude's a genetic freak. 5'11", 233, runs a 4.4 flat, jumps 41 inches. Dude's just a fucking monster. Obviously solidified himself as the best back in the draft. Unfortunately, Ronald Jones, who was someone I was really looking forward to, has kind of tapered off a little bit in my rankings. Was up there in the top 3. Now he's at 5. Pulled his hamstring during the 40-yard dash, his first 40-yard dash, so he really, it was cut short before he even got started. Felt really bad for him. Hopefully he can rebound come his pro day, and I think that he can kind of regain any sort of lost momentum he had. I don't think that he was necessarily failed or that he or fell or that he was necessarily a quote-unquote loser in this case, but man, there were just a lot of injuries this weekend, and that's going to be a point I bring up again later. Speaking of losers from day one, you cannot talk about day one and failures without talking about Orlando Brown. What the fuck, man? I knew this kid wasn't athletic. I knew this kid didn't exactly have great tape, but I would really hope that he would try. Doesn't even look like he was trying out there. And of course, I'm a former offensive lineman, and I coached offensive line as well. And just to watch Orlando Brown was cringy. On tape, I wasn't really a big fan of him either. Some guys, they're not going to show off at the Combine, but they at least have good tape to fall back on. Calvin Ridley is one of those guys. Didn't exactly blow away the Combine, but has really good tape, to back up why he is where he is. I don't know why Orlando Brown is ranked so high. I had him as my offensive tackle number 9 coming into the week. He's now my OT 13. He's fallen 4 spots. He had possibly the worst Combine I've ever seen. I actually have to go back and see if Denver Kirkland from a couple years ago was worse. That's the only thing that it reminded me of. He was really slow, really, obviously really weak. He only put up 14 reps on the bench press, which was really bad when you consider defensive backs, running backs, wide receivers. I think he might have had some of the lower reps out of all Combine participants. Now, I get it, having long arms leads to a horrendous disadvantage in the bench press. I would know. I have a wingspan of 6'10", and Orlando Brown is 6'8". But the problem is that when you're slow, and he is slow, he ran a 5.86, one of the slowest Combine 40s of all time. You need to at least be strong, and he wasn't that. I mean, guys like Damian Mama, who have been really slow and run 5'6", 5'7" in the past, they at least killed the bench press, and the bench press killed Orlando Brown. Not to mention, he didn't jump well at all. 17 inches. That's awful. Horrendous broad jump that was 4 full feet, basically behind Colton Miller, who had the best in the class. It was pathetic. And then his on field stuff, can't move his feet, really sloppy technique and footwork, and was yelled at several times by the coaches for taking it easy, slacking off. I really don't see how this kid can go in the top really 3 rounds. I didn't have him as a day 2 prospect even going into it. I had him as an early day 3. I would feel very uncomfortable even potentially drafting this kid. Josh Allen on day 2, really depending on who you ask, Josh Allen either was more of the same or he really proved his doubters wrong. And yes, believe me, he had some amazing throws, but at the same time, yes, there were some really badly missed throws. And the thing is that you see someone who really is has drank the Josh Allen Kool-Aid, for lack of a better term, and they talk about how these are the same people who go, they've never worked with these receivers before, and the Josh Allen quote unquote haters are looking at these going, well, that was a horrendous overthrow, that was a bad throw. It's somewhere in the middle. I've never really been on one side of the fence or the other. Josh Allen did move up in my rankings. He went from my number 6 quarterback to my number 5 quarterback. He swapped spots with Mason Rudolph. He's still behind Lamar Jackson. He's still behind Baker Mayfield. Still behind Sam Darnold. Still behind Josh Rosen. And I heard it on a podcast this morning from John Ledyard, and it really made me think about it. You hear Mike Mayock rant and rave all day about Josh Allen's arm strength and cannon of an arm, best arm since Jamarcus Russell. Is that really something to be proud of? Does anyone remember Jamarcus Russell? Can anyone tell me a good Jamarcus Russell NFL game? Because I can't. I mean, there's a reason he's one of the biggest busts of all time. And, yeah, strong arm. Believe me, Josh Allen has a strong arm. But he lacks touch. He lacks the ability to, he lacks any sort of true mental processing. And the sad thing is that you look at a Baker Mayfield or a Josh Rosen, and Mayock will rant and rave about how Josh Rosen's got some of the best decision making, best anticipation, and this and that and the third, but he's QB3, and that doesn't make any sense to me because are throwing with anticipation, making good reads as a quarterback, placement, is that not all the most important part of playing quarterback? Correct me if I'm wrong, but the mental aspect is the most important part of playing quarterback. Having a rocket attached to your shoulder is nice, but it doesn't mean shit if it's going to the other team. How are we in 2018 and teams still can't identify what the fuck is the most important part of playing quarterback? I don't get it. But Rosen to me did nothing to hurt his stock as the number 1 quarterback. I'm really disappointed that Sam Darnold didn't throw. I mean, come on, bud. You're the only quarterback that's going, no, I'm not throwing. Be a man. Man the fuck up, Sam Darnold. Throw the fucking ball. Allen did okay. Lamar Jackson had an up and down day. Although I know, I have a friend that's really upset that he didn't run. I'm perfectly happy with the fact he didn't run because it really stuck it to these these potential NFL scouts that were saying that he should move to wide receiver, even though Lamar said that no team has spoken to him about moving to wide receiver. Kind of an odd discrepancy there. But overall, quarterbacks kind of remained largely the same. Mason Rudolph did pretty well. I thought Josh Allen was a little bit more impressive, and that's, they were really close anyway, so it's not like it's a massive jump. Wide receivers, DJ Moore went, big time stock up. He's now one of my top 2 receivers. He's behind Calvin Ridley. Really showed out at the combine, really impressive. But the tape kind of doesn't really back up the athleticism. I may have to go back and rewatch some of his games. But overall, I came away very impressed with DJ Moore. Ran fast, jumped high, ran good routes, everything like that. Auden Tate was the biggest disappointment from the wide receiver class. 6'5", 235, 237, something like that. But ran really slow. He was like a 4.7 and could not run routes effectively at all. He looks like he's probably destined to become more of a move tight end at the next level. And he went from probably, in my opinion, I thought that, if you looked at his tape and what I had seen with he was kind of one of those potential guys that I was really happy about, and he was my number 2 guy. Now I'm not sure where I'd put him. Equanimous St. Brown out of Notre Dame had another really good combine as well. I thought the tight ends, more or less exactly the way I expected it to be. Mike Gesicki, of course, I didn't see that type of athleticism on tape, but he really, really had a good combine, especially running fast, because I didn't think that he was that great of an athlete. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, defensive linemen. I mean, a lot of the same things that I already kind of expected coming in. I was kind of surprised at the number of edge rushers I had on my board that were really undersized. Guys like Ola Denny out of Toledo. I thought he was about 6'3", 6'4". He ended up being, I think, 6'1" and 245, so he's going to have to prove that he can play linebacker at the next level, probably in a base formation, like a 4-3 linebacker. Vita Vea blew the combine up. Unfortunately, Maurice Hurst was not able to participate due to a heart condition. Hopefully he can get that checked out. I think that's probably going to knock him down a lot of teams' boards, but I think he's still going to be a very good player. I think if a team can get him in the middle of round 2, maybe even round 3, based off of how quote unquote serious this heart condition is, and I really hope it isn't that serious. I think that he can kind of have a Nick Fairley type of career, except maybe be a lot better of a player, because I think he's a lot better of a player as is than Nick Fairley, but they have the same heart condition, and maybe more of a Star Latulele type comparison is probably a better one. Linebackers, star of the combine, Shaq Griffin from UCF, obviously putting up 20 bench reps at 2 1/4 with one hand. He has one less hand than Orlando Brown and did 6 more reps. Also, being a 230-pound linebacker and fucking running 4.3.7, that's like the most insane thing I think I've ever seen at the combine. He showed out, did very well in the drills. Was one of the few linebackers in the coverage drills that could actually catch, which again is really funny considering he has one less hand than the guys that were dropping balls. Defensive backs, really a lot of the same things that not much movement up and down the boards as in terms of defensive backs. Tavares McFadden is really slow, slower than I expected, and might have to go back and rewatch some of his tape. But yeah, that's just kind of my quick post-combine thoughts. That's going to do it for today. As always, guys, like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend, and tell another friend. There will be a mock draft out by the end of the week. And until next time, guys, take it easy.